Hi students. So in the last video we discussed about concepts of budgeting, and this video is going to be a continuation of the previous video. Here we will discuss about different things about budget processing. Okay, the first of all, budget planning calendar. So what's a budget planning calendar? You will be starting preparing a budget, right? So when each of the department should be preparing their own individual budgets and submitting to top level management. For all these things, there should be a schedule. Who will do budget first, who is going to be second, and who is going to submit their budgets to top level management. All these things, there should be a clear plan. That is what actually a planning calendar is. So this usually include what specific dates when department must submit their data to top level management. And the budget department is responsible for compiling the budget and managing the budget process. So whenever the company is having a separate department for budgeting, or we call it as budget department, they are going to compile this planning calendar. The next one is budget manual. This is nothing but a series of instructions on how every department should prepare their budgets and submit. It's a plan, it's a standard adopted by the organization. How you should prepare a budget. That's what a budget manual means. And this slide actually talking about time frames for budgets. Typically, a profit plan, or we can call it as a budget, is crafted for specified duration. So normally it is 1 year. Maybe you will segmentize this 1 year into months or quarters. And the period in which the budget is prepared, it is usually aligned with the company's fiscal year. So benefit of aligning the budget period with fiscal year is that the comparison between what happened and what was the budget is going to be more easy, because you are comparing same period for budget numbers and actual numbers. So your comparison is going to be easy when you do variance analysis, or we can say when you are comparing actual with the budget. Sometimes budgets can also be prepared on a continuous basis. That means every month or every quarter you are going to prepare a budget for the next 12 months or next 4 quarters. This is called a rolling budget or a continuous budget. So all the time the budget covers a set of months, quarters or years into future. Each month or quarter, the month or quarter just completed is dropped, and new monthly or quarterly budget is added to the end of the budget. So now you have a budget for 12 months, that is starting from Jan to December. So again next month you are going to start a budget that is going to be from Feb to Jan. Again for next 12 months there is a budget. So it is going to continue like this. That's why it is called as a continuous budget or a rolling budget. What are the advantages of making such budget? Your budget is not just done once in a year, and you always have a budget for next 12 period. Always there is a budget, and it is going to be more updated, right? Because every month you are going to make budget, and you are getting more and more informations which are relevant compared to previous few months. So it is going to be a budget with updated information. So the budget is going to be up to date. And the manager is more likely to pay attention to budgeted operation for the full budget period. So these are the benefits of continuous budget. And now this is talking about who should prepare the budget. The budget should be prepared by the people who are most knowledgeable about different parts of the budget. People actually who are involved with the operation, they should be involved in preparing the budget. Top management should not be involved in the detailed production budget for each month. They should not involve in the details of the budget. Those who know how much things actually cost need to be consulted in the development of the budget. So people who know how much it is going to cost, they have a clear picture about how the budget has to be. They should be involved in the preparation of budget. And there are two types of budgeting actually: participative budgeting, and we have here and authoritative budgeting. So participative budgeting is when individuals impacted by the budget are involved in the development of the budget. So people who are actually involved in the functionalities, they are participating in preparation of the budget. This helps them feel that budget is able to be accomplished. People who are going to do the work, they are the one who is preparing the plan. So this will help them feel that whatever budget they have prepared, it is realistic and it is going to be accomplished. And the budget is going to be more realistic. This is participative budgeting. But we have to see that top level management still has a role in the budget process. Even if they don't prepare the details of the budget, but they still have a role. What is their role? They need to set the goals and objective that the company is trying to achieve. So the goals and objective is set by the top level management, and that need to be communicated to everyone in the organization. So that is what the role of top level management in budgeting. So they need to make sure that all of the individual budgets are working towards common objective and goal. This is what their role, the role of top level management in the budgeting. And they need to provide support and information so that people have the needed information to budget. So there are two types of budget, as we said: top-down budget and bottom-up budgeting. So top-down, we call it as also authoritative budget. So top-down budgeting is imposed by upper management and therefore has less of chance of acceptance by those on whom budget is imposed. So top-down budgeting is imposed by the top-level management towards the down level. So you will not have details on this. But the bottom up, or we call it as participative budgeting, is actually prepared by the people who are involved in the production, involved in the sales, involved in each and every functionalities. They are the one who is preparing the budget. So normally we can say they are getting the needed details from their day-to-day operations. Because of this level of participation within the company, there is usually greater chance of acceptance. So this type of budget will be accepted by almost all of the people in the company because it is prepared by the low level management and it is being communicated towards the upper level management. So this is top down and bottom up budgeting. You can see top down what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages here. Top down ensures consistency across all functional areas. This is prepared by top level management and there will be consistency throughout the functions what company is having because it is prepared by top level management and um, it will be implemented on throughout all the levels. This is less complex and less time consuming because they are not waiting for coordinating uh, with low level management and getting their input. They are not waiting. So it is less consuming and because of that it is going to cost you low. So that's what top down budgeting and its advantages. Disadvantage, an imposed budget is much less likely to promote a sense of commitment. The acceptance of this budget from the lower level management may be not so good. Then we have bottom up budgeting or we call it as participatory budgeting. This encourages employees to have a sense of ownership because employees prepared this. So they will accept it and they will be committed towards this budget. So this will enable employees to relate performance to rewards or penalties. So employees, they can relate their performance and they can understand I got some rewards because of my better performance or I got penalty because my performance was not so good. And this is going to give broader information base or we can say this will be giving the detailed information about the budget. Unlike the top down budgeting is going to be a general overview of what should happen in the company. But this is going to be the detailed plan will be there when it is bottom up budget. But here problem is higher cost in time and money. There'll be cost is going to be high and quality of participation is affected by objectives, values, beliefs and expectation of that those involved. So how people think about the budget should be and how is their involvement, sincere involvement in the budget, that's all depending on their objective, their values and their beliefs. So the quality of your budget is depending on their values, beliefs and objectives. And there is a chance of creation of budgetary slack that we will discuss in the coming slide what is budgetary slack is. So a budgetary slack is the difference between the budgeted performance and performance that is actually expected. For example, a sales manager know that he is going to sell 1 million units. Okay, but he don't want to commit 1 million unit. What he have done, he made a budget of 900,000 units. That is uh, easy for him to achieve. So he know that it is sale is going to be 1 million, but he just made a budget of 900,000 units only so that he can easily achieve it. Or maybe in case of cost, an operation manager he know that or a production manager he know that cost is going to be 900,000. But what he have done is he included in the budget 1 million thousand. Sorry, 1 million. So even if the cost is going up, he's still in safe zone. because the expected cost is 900,000 only, but he have already a budget of 1 million. So he's getting cushion against whatever uncertainties that may happen. So this is what actually budgetary slack means. So it is the practice of underestimating budgeted revenues. You are underestimating the revenues and overestimating the cost. So this practice is what we call it as a budgetary slack. So managers who develop budget, they are going to be accountable to meet, may build budgetary slack into their budgets in order to make sure their budgets are achievable without any risk of failure. The same example as I have mentioned, I know that I am going to sell 1 million units, but I made a budget of 900,000 units. I'm creating a slack to make sure that I'm going to achieve the target. So there is advantages and disadvantages for budgetary slack. On the positive side, it can provide managers with a cushion against unforeseen circumstances. So there may be circumstances that you don't know when you are preparing the budget. So managers are getting a cushion against the uncertainty in the future. On the negative side, it misrepresents the true profit potential of the company and can lead to inefficient resource allocation and poor coordination of activities within the company. So in this example, the sales manager know that he is going to sell 1 million, but he made a budget for 900,000 only. And we know that there is a relationship between different budgets. So when he said it is 900,000 units will be sold during the year, your production manager is going to act accordingly. He will not consider the 1 million units that is going to be sold. He will be making his plan based on this 900,000, and he will be allocating the resources based on that. How much employees need, how much laborers need, how much material need, everything will be allocated based on this 900,000. So it is actually misrepresented. And now this is a budget development process. So how the budget is processed. This may have seen in the last video also. So we'll just go through it. An appropriate authority such as a senior management or a budget committee. If you don't have a budget committee in your company, then senior management, they will set and communicate the guidelines. So they are going to set and communicate the guidelines to prepare the budget. Then initial proposals are prepared by each department. Then what they will do, company managers at all levels from all the responsibility centers, or we can say all the department, to the CEO, they will negotiate, review, and then approve the budget for submission to the board of directors. So after the budget is finally adopted, it should be able to be changed if the assumption upon which it was built change significantly. So now you made a budget, and we had a lot of discussion about the budget, and there was negotiation, reviews, all this happened, and the budget is approved. But you made a budget based on some of the assumptions, right? But now after some time you came to know that the assumptions on which we made the budget has been changed. So we should be able to do some revision for the budget. And once the budget is prepared, actual results need to be compared with the budget, and we have to prepare a variance reporting. What actually happened and what is supposed to happen. That is what variance report. Variance report should be used at every level of the company to identify problem areas and to make adjustment to the operations. So at the all level of the company, you have to uh, you have to prepare a variance report. What was the budgeted figures and what is actual, and why there is a variance, what the reason for the variance, this we have to find out. Then another concept in budgeting is controllability. What is controllability? As the name indicates, controllability means there are some costs that a particular manager can control, and there are some costs that he cannot control. Okay, so for example, if a production manager, he can control the cost of material used in the production. Okay, it is based on his decision. But there are some cost that is imposed on the department. Maybe you have some corporate expenses that has been imposed on all the departments that he cannot control. So there are some costs that he can control, and there are some costs that he cannot control. So when we are measuring a performance of a manager, we have to make sure that we are measuring this particular manager based on the cost that he can control. So he cannot be blamed for the cost that is incurred from the top level management. That is what controllability means. So every managers, they should be measured based on, or their performance should be measured based on the cost that he can control. So that cost is what we call it as controllable cost. Now these are the best practices guidelines for budget process. So what are the best practice guidelines when you are preparing a budget? Link development of the budget to corporate strategy. This we iterated before also. We always have to link the budget to the strategy of the company. And it has to be properly communicated throughout the organization. And resources need to be allocated more efficiently. And managers should be evaluated on performance measure other than meeting budget targets. So when you are measuring the performance of the managers, so we have to focus on the performance of the manager, not just the budgeted target. Strategic use of variance analysis. So you have to find out what is the variance we are having and why it happened and what changes we can make in our strategy. Also, you have to reduce the complexity and budget cycle time. Develop budgets that can be revised. It has to be flexible. You cannot make a budget that is so rigid that you cannot revise it. That's what, review the budget regularly during the year. So these are the best practice guidelines for the budget process. Now we will be discussing about standards or standard cost and setting standard cost. So what's a standard cost? Just imagine you don't have any benchmark to check with related to cost of the products. So in this case, how you will know I made my product at a reasonable cost? You will not be able to know, right? But if the management, or if you made an assumption or a standard cost that the cost of making this product is $10, and actually it became $12. So when you prepare a standard cost, you can now compare the actual with the standard, and you can try to find out why the actual cost is more than the standard. So what's the standard? How you will prepare the standard? Standard you will prepare based on whatever the activities through which we are going. How much time we spend on certain activity, how many people are working on this, and how much resources we used. Based on that, you can prepare a standard, or maybe based on historical data. Last 5 years, we are making the product at a unit cost of $5. This is the historical data. This can be a standard, and if this year the cost of making the product is high, then you can compare that with this $5. Or you can do target costing. Target costing is like when a product is in an economy where competition is so high, or it is in a highly competitive uh, market, then you cannot change the price of the product because that much competition is there. So I have to sell my product for $100. There is no other way. So what we will do, we will create a target costing. Okay, the my selling price is going to be $100, and I need 20% margin on this. Okay, so my cost has to be this much. So you have a target cost, and you will check at the end of the year, did I produce my product at this target cost? This is what you will be checking. So there is a standard based on standard cost, the target costing. Also, you will do benchmarking. If you don't have historical data and you are not in a situation to analyze the activities and there is no target costing, so you can benchmark it with standard measurements or similar measurements of its peers. So you can say your competitor, how much he is making this product for. That you can consider as a standard. That is what benchmarking means. Again, standard setting also can be authoritative and also it can be participative. Same like budget preparation. It can be prepared by the top level management and can be imposed downwards. Even the standards can be done in the same way. It can be authoritative or it can be participative. So while preparing the standards, what are the things you have to consider? That is what we are discussing here. So when you are preparing a standard for materials, I'm going to make this product, and for this product, how much material I need? How many material I need? That is quantity. Quantity is equal to 2. And what quality? Quality has to be high quality. And what price? So when the quality is high, price is going to be high. So maybe say 2 into 10. So we can say the material standard for making this product is 2 quantity at $10 is going to be $20. This is what my standard is. Now at the end of the year, you can check, did I made my product at $20 or not? So that's what direct material standards. Here we will check 3 things: quality, quantity, and price. The higher the quality of the material, the more it will cost. Maybe the lower quality material may cost less but may require more materials, as there may be more material that do not meet required quality standards. Maybe you will buy cheap materials and you are getting a lot of damages, so the quantity will increase. So these 3 things, when you are setting up a standard for material, you have to consider how many units I need, at what quality, and at what price. This is for direct material. Even for the labors, you need same thing. Quantity of labor, how many hours of labor hours needed to make one product, and what is the price of labor. Again, quality you have to consider in terms of skill. You need the laborers highly skilled or you know low skilled, how you want the people to be. So I need again 3 hours of labor, and every hour I have to pay $10. So it is $30 to make this product. So now I need $20 of material and $30 of uh, labor cost. So now it became $50. But this is not enough. We have to also allocate the overhead cost. The allocation of overhead cost we discussed in detail in section D, and that also we have to consider establishing overhead standards. So overhead standards are generally based on normal operating conditions, normal volume, and desired efficiency. So we know that the total overhead cost come from budgeted factory overhead cost. So you will have a budgeted factory overhead cost, right? That is the total cost of overheads. Then you will divide that. These are divided by predetermined level of activity. How many machine hours you are going to have for an year? How many labor hours or how many units? Whatever it is. So total cost divided by allocation base. You will get what? We know that we will get POR, or it is called as predetermined overhead rate. In relation to the allocation rate, the company must decide what activity to use for its budgeted amount of activity level. So traditional method uses machine hours or direct labor hours, and we know that the allocation base can be anything. It has to justify. That's it. It can be machine hour, it can be labor hours, it can be components, it can be space used, whatever it is. And this allocation rate is established for the full year. So you will be allocating, or you will be preparing an allocation rate for the complete period, and the budgeted overhead rate for the year multiplied with each month's budgeted activity level will be used to calculate the monthly budgeted overhead. For example, you got $2, that is the POR, predetermined overhead rate, and this you will multiply with the activity level, for example 1000 units. This is what we are going to apply to the work in progress that we have seen in overhead allocation in section D. But while selecting the activity level, this also we discussed, we have 4 choices, and 2 are related to supply and 2 are related to demand for the product. I hope you remember this. The supply denominator levels concepts are theoretical or ideal capacity. Theoretically, how many units you can make without considering any idle time or downtime. In an ideal situation, how many units you can make. But second one is practically how many units you can make. Because we have to consider there will be idle time, there will be downtime, there will be sometimes breakdown in the operation. So if you consider that, what is practically achievable? That is what? Practical capacity. So maybe theoretically I can make 1 million units, but practically only 800,000 units are possible. But again, you will check, okay, I can make 800,000 units, but am I going to make 800,000 units? Maybe no. Why? Because I don't have that much demand. My demand is only for 500,000 units. So that's what master budget capacity utilization. For an year, how many units you are going to sell? So your cost has to be divided between these 500,000 units. This is based on demand. This is for an year actually. And another option what we have is normal capacity utilization. So this is the activity level achieved in the long run. You will consider cyclical changes, you will consider seasonal changes, and if it is like 1 year 500,000, second year 400,000, third year 300,000, maybe is it going to be like this? So it is like 1,200,000 divided by 3, so your average is going to be 400,000. This is what actually normal capacity means, and this is the method preferred even by US GAAP. So this is the denominator level concepts when you are preparing a standard for overhead cost. We have to consider the POR, how it is calculated, and based on what denominator level. So that's about the standards. Now we just talk about master budget. The master budget is final complete budget for the upcoming time period. So master budget, we can say that's the final complete budget for the coming period. The master budget composed of many smaller budgets that are developed for departments, divisions, and individual products. So master budget is composed of multiple budgets. You will have sales budget, you will have production budget, you will have raw material budget, you will have labor budget, you will have your general expenses budget. All these are composed into one. That is what we call as a master budget. And you will prepare an operating budgets that is usually identify resources that will be needed by individual units to carry our planned activities, or we can say all these are related to your operations, how much you are going to spend and how much you are going to get, or we can say all these are related to the items that is coming from an income statement. Then you have financial budget, identify sources and uses of fund, or we can say these items are normally related to your balance sheet. And this is the sample of a master budget. So components of a master budget, you can see here, it's a manufacturing company. For that you will have sales budget. Based on that you will prepare a production budget. So if you know the production budget, then only you can prepare what will be the cost of the goods sold budget, right? How you will get the cost of goods sold budget? You will check what is labor cost, what is going to be the material cost, and what is going to be the overhead cost. And you will compare, so you will also consider the inventory movements also to reach your cost of goods sold. After that you have your selling expenses budget, administrative expenses budget, and finally you will have a budgeted income statement, how much you will have profit by end of this period. Also you will have a cash budget that will show how much cash I will have by the end of the year, considering all the inflow and outflow. Then finally you will have a budgeted balance sheet. So this is an example of a master budget. So it comprises all of the budgets. Okay, so that's it about the concepts of budgeting, and we will start with budgeting methodologies in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Thanks a lot for being with me. Thank you. Bye bye.